Toronto police are investigating the city's latest homicide. A man found dead on the University of Toronto downtown campus. Good afternoon. We are expecting an update from investigators this afternoon after a man's body was discovered near the university's pharmacy building along College Street yesterday morning.
U of T sent out a notice stating there's no risk to students. CTV's Janice Golding is live on campus with reaction from students. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Well, police originally said they did not believe this was a suspicious death, as you've mentioned. They now say that this was a homicide. Now, the details at this point are quite sparse. We do not know the victim's name or identity or age. We do know he was a man, but we also don't know what exactly led up to this incident. What we do know is that police were called here at around 8:20 yesterday morning. The scene just outside the Leslie L. Dan Pharmacy building here at U of T, which is at the corner of College just west of Queen's Park Crescent. Now, after being notified, Toronto police and campus security cordoned off the area and began an investigation. The dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy, meanwhile, informed staff and students of an incident on campus, saying, "We have been informed that there is no risk to the surrounding area." Here's what students had to say this morning.
It's a bit scary, especially since we have classes in this building. I wasn't there at the time, but hearing about it kind of just makes me a bit wary, like walking by myself, especially at night.
Tragedy that happened, I feel like I think we all just sort of want to know what exactly happened.
It's horrible, knowing this news. We come to school every day, and then just seeing the body, and you don't expect it, and then you don't want to find someone laying there like that, of course.
Now, police will be holding a news conference at 1 p.m. with an update, so we'll have more details for you tonight at 5 and 6. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. And still ahead on CTV News, a fire shuts down London's Heathrow Airport, disrupting hundreds of flights and stranding thousands of passengers. We'll have details a little later in the newscast. Police are investigating after a man was found shot on Danzig Street. Police were called to the Danzig and Morningside area just after 3:30 this morning. Officers found a man in his 20s with a gunshot wound. He was rushed to hospital and is expected to survive. Police have not released any information about suspects or where exactly the shooting happened. Anyone with information is asked to contact police.
Just days after the collapse of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza, a major annual pro-Palestinian event will take place Sunday. Community groups are preparing to hold demonstrations. Toronto police say their officers will have an increased presence downtown.
Toronto police attend these gatherings to maintain public order, facilitate effective crowd management, and above all, to ensure the safety of everyone, regardless of what their views are. We will continue to balance the right to protest with the need to maintain public order and public safety, as well as the safety of our members.
In particular, some have expressed concern about the potential for hate speech, as well as the potential for confrontation between Al-Qaeda's participants and those who oppose this event. Hate has no place in our city. This weekend, Toronto police will be highly visible. Our members will be present throughout the demonstrations, proactively identifying, when needed, instances of hate. I want to remind everyone that every reported instance of hate, including in demonstrations, will be investigated.
Many Jewish groups argue Al-Quds Day celebrations are anti-Semitic, a claim pro-Palestinian activists reject as Toronto police prepare for Sunday's event. Emergency crews were on the scene last night of a partial wall collapse at a building under construction near the Annex. This is the scene at Bathurst and DuPont where wooden framing covered in plastic can be seen blowing in the wind and leaning toward the street. The hazard was reported just after 10 last night. Police say the framing got caught in the wind. The structure is nearly 60 feet tall. Residents are being told to use caution in the area.
And yes, there was some wind last night, but as we look at the skyline this noon hour, you can see bright sunshine to take us into the weekend. You may have found it a bit chilly to start, but it is warming up this afternoon. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay, yes, there's unsettled weather on the way, but lots to enjoy at the moment.
I think we should enjoy today, Michelle, because it's true. The first weekend of spring, yeah, it's going to be looking and feeling a little more like winter again. But this afternoon, very pleasant. We're at 3 degrees right now in Toronto, on our way today to a forecast daytime high of 9. Now, we did have gusty winds last night. The winds are now coming out of the southwest again, and they're starting to pick up in speed and intensity. So you'll notice some gusty winds again this afternoon and evening. Here's the satellite and radar. Lots of sunshine for now. Things will change a little bit as we move through the overnight hours tonight. But today we are well above seasonal. Wall-to-wall sunshine is expected. Then the weekend is going to be bookended by a couple of rounds of precipitation. This is round 1 into your Saturday morning. Some showers, maybe a little bit of mixing. And then by Sunday, potential for maybe some measurable snow. We'll talk all about it coming up in your weekend weather forecast. Michelle, for now, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, after a week spent seeking a lifeline, Hudson's Bay says it has found a way to keep half a dozen stores open for now. Canada's oldest company is in court. They've been in court this week asking an Ontario judge for permission to keep 6 stores open while liquidating the rest of its locations across the country. The stores that would stay open include 2 in Toronto, including its flagship location at Queen and Yonge. The move stands to save some of the more than 9,300 jobs that could be lost if the company liquidated all of its stores. Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to host his first meeting with Canadian premiers this afternoon, and among them will be Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
It comes after Ford visited a school in Etobicoke this morning alongside Mayor Olivia Chow to highlight a new student meal program. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with the details. Siobhan.
Well, the Premier, joined by the Mayor, seemed to really enjoy this one. This was really squeezing in a visit at this Etobicoke school before the Premier takes off to Ottawa for that First Minister's meeting. Doug Ford and Olivia Chow were handing out snacks to 3rd graders and answering their questions. Things like, how hard is your job? What do you get paid? And why is Ontario the best province? You can imagine Doug Ford really relished answering that one, talking about the importance of our diversity as a province and also our unity in the face of the current tariff threat. It's that he is heading off this afternoon to that First Minister's meeting in Ottawa. It will be the first one with Prime Minister Mark Carney at the helm. There have been some tensions in recent days with the premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan, but Ford is talking again about the importance of all being united.
We have to forget the political stripes. Let's go united, because that's the only way we're going to challenge President Trump and these terrible, terrible tariffs that he's going to put on the whole world April the 2nd. So we're going to stick together. We have to get rid of all the barriers for interprovincial trade.
I did ask the Premier about a report in the Toronto Star that said he spoke with Pierre Poilievre on Monday, but that he refused to endorse the federal Conservative leader. Doug Ford seemed to have some problems with that reporting. He did say that he does want to work with the federal partner that will collaborate on things like getting the Ring of Fire built, but that he wants to stay out of elections. He doesn't believe in his words, interference. Worth noting, though, that he did endorse a candidate in last year's mayoral by-election. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And as Siobhan mentioned, Doug Ford and all of Canada's premiers will meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney this afternoon.
The new PM is hosting the gathering at the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa just days before he is expected to launch a snap election campaign. It's expected the country's response to American and Chinese tariffs will dominate the agenda. One major part of the strategy has been pledges to reduce interprovincial trade barriers. A spokesperson for Carney said earlier this week the session would be a chance to discuss creating a single Canadian economy instead of 13 separate ones. The new PM is due to ask Governor General Mary Simon to dissolve Parliament on Sunday and call an election for as early as April 28th.
Meanwhile, a new poll finds a U.S. annexation of Canada would spur 1/3 of Canadians to consider moving to another country. 41% of respondents in the Leger survey see U.S. tariffs, President Donald Trump, and American economic aggression as the biggest threats Canada faces. Concern was highest in Quebec and lowest in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Almost half of Canadians aged 18 to 34 were more likely to say they'd move, compared with 1/3 of those between 35 and 54, and less than 1/3 of people older than 55.
And in another sign of heightened tensions, a small town in southern Quebec says American authorities have decided to close the Canadian access to a historic library that sits on the border between the two countries. The Haskell Free Library has been there for more than a century. The town of Stansted said in a news release late Thursday evening that U.S. officials have made a unilateral decision to close access on the Canadian side. It is not clear why the change was made, but officials are planning an update this afternoon.
Major disruptions to air travel overseas today. Heathrow Airport is closed today after a transformer fire at an electrical substation in West London knocked out power to the busy airport and thousands of local homes and businesses. Flights have been diverted to Gatwick Airport, Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, and Ireland Shannon Airport. Thousands of travelers who would be using Europe's travel hub today are asked to check their flight status. The fire is under control, but Heathrow expects significant disruptions for days. And CTV's Scott Hirsch joins us now with more. So what's the very latest on this, Scott?
Well, Nathan, here's why there could be flight disruptions for many days now, because Heathrow on Friday was expecting 1,300 flights in and out of that airport. And so this closure is affecting more than 200,000 travelers who are expected to go through that airport on Friday alone. It is the busiest international travel hub in Europe. And so as you can imagine, it being closed for the full day and potentially even longer is sending shockwaves around the globe and forcing a whole lot of passengers to figure out what comes next. But of course, can't even get to that point yet until the airport does reopen, and then airlines can start to rebook flights in and out of the major European hub. As you mentioned, Heathrow will be closed all day on Friday, and it could be even longer after the fire at an electrical substation, and it initially knocked out power to terminals 2 and 4, as well as some 5,000 nearby homes and businesses. Counter-terrorism police are leading the investigation into the fire, but Metropolitan Police say there's no specific indication of foul play. So as we mentioned, it is the busiest airport in Europe, and it's warning of significant disruptions for many days now. This is among the most significant travel disruptions, particularly in Europe, since 2010, when that volcano erupted in Iceland, and that caused significant travel delays for many weeks, Nathan.
Yeah, no doubt the impact will be felt around the world. What are travelers facing now with all these delays? Yeah, travelers around the world, including here back home, are trying to figure out what happens next as they're waiting for any word on when the airport will specifically reopen. And so that's when they can start to rebook their flights or try to find other alternatives, maybe to other destinations. We heard reports that some flights from North America, including Canada, were able to divert to other airports in Europe, but there were others that made it pretty much halfway across the Atlantic and then had to come back. Here's what one passenger had to say, talking about the disruptions.
I was traveling to Oslo, connecting through Heathrow to visit my dad, who has cancer, to spend time with him, and now I will have to rebook my flight.
So specifically talking about Canadian travelers and Canadian airports, of course, the ripple effect is being felt back here as well. At Toronto, several flights were canceled because of the incident at Heathrow Airport and because of the closure. And it impacted flights other major airports as well, including Calgary, Vancouver, and Montreal. Air Canada said on Friday that it had 6 of its flights were diverted midair, and a 7th was canceled before departing. The airline said in total it had to cancel 16 flights, including returning from London as well. And so this is an impact that is being felt far and wide, including right here in Toronto and across Canada as well, Nathan.
No doubt. All right, CTV's Scott Hirsch with the very latest on the closure of London's Heathrow Airport. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Teslas have been targeted again in Canada, this time in Hamilton.
It's part of a series of attacks on dealerships on both sides of the border. CTV's Heather Wright looks at the reasons and the repercussions.
Punctured tires, scratched doors, defaced hoods. More than 80 vehicles were damaged at a Tesla dealership in Hamilton, Ontario, believed to be the largest act of vandalism in Canada against the U.S. automaker.
I think everybody understands the climate in the world right now. There's nothing to suggest that this is motivated by that at this moment. It's under investigation.
Tesla vehicles have become a target in cities around the world ever since company CEO Elon Musk closely aligned himself with President Trump and began to slash government spending and jobs through the Department of Government Efficiency. In Montreal this week, 2 environmental activists were arrested for vandalizing a dealership while calling on Canada to take a stand against Musk, saying he is, quote, destroying democracy and spreading climate denial. South of the border, attacks have ranged from vandalism, arson to shots being fired into showrooms.
I think it's totally disgusting and inappropriate.
The U.S. Attorney General says it all amounts to domestic terrorism, and today charged 3 people for setting fire to cars and charging stations. And while the U.S. president tried to give Musk's company a boost,
everything's computer,
by turning the White House lawn into a de facto showroom, Tesla stock has cratered over the last few months from a $1.7 trillion valuation to under $800 billion. And some owners are now trying to distance themselves from Musk by putting these stickers on their cars.
2 reasons. One, to keep the car from being vandalized, and the other is to put it out there that it's not because you drive a Tesla that you agree with fascist politics.
Concerns around recent vandalism and protests have led the Vancouver Auto Show to remove Tesla from this week's event. Heather Wright, CTV News.
If you're planning to take transit this weekend, there are some service changes to keep in mind. Trains will not be running on Line 1 between Finch and St. Clair stations both Saturday and Sunday. This is to accommodate planned track work. Transit officials say North York Centre and Lawrence stations will be closed as a result, and shuttle buses will run. Meanwhile, Metrolink says GO trains will be replaced by buses on the Stouffville line all weekend. That replacement service won't stop at Milliken, Agincourt, or Kennedy GO, and officials advise taking the TTC instead. Lakeshore East trains won't run to Union Station, and instead, buses will run direct between Union and Pickering GO. Lindsay.
Well, as mentioned, we are expecting the winds to strengthen as we continue through this afternoon. Those winds will be coming out of the southwest today, so that will drive up our temperature. Take a look at some of these peak wind gusts recorded yesterday and at times last night. It was quite windy around Toronto, around 70 kilometers per hour, and even stronger in southwestern Ontario. Now, we're keeping an eye on the almanac. The record to beat today in the city of Toronto as far as a daytime high is concerned, 23.3 degrees. That was set back in 2012. We're not exactly at risk of breaking that record today, but it is going to be pleasant. Enjoy this afternoon because things get a bit cooler over the weekend and certainly through the middle part of next week. A detailed look at your 7-day forecast is coming up here on CTV News at noon. We'll be right back.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. It is Friday, feels good. It is the first full day of spring, but I was wearing my hat and gloves this morning.
You know what? We did a little switch of our coats this morning because I think we had that milder weather this week, and then suddenly you walk out the door. It was fresh, although I do like where the temperature's going today, Lindsay.
Yeah, me too. Today is a pretty good day. We've had a little tease of spring, and now we're kind of back to winter, but don't worry, spring, there's plenty of it still to come. Just the next few days are going to be decidedly a little more like winter, not just because of how it feels outside, but because of what could be falling from the sky at a couple of different opportunities. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. And speaking of something interesting falling from the sky, yeah, we saw flurries last evening. This was the scene in Toronto. Nothing accumulating, no shoveling necessary, but yeah, it caused a bit of a scene on the first day of spring, wouldn't you say? Another opportunity for some mixed precipitation into the day tomorrow, and then, believe it or not, maybe a little bit of accumulating snow before the weekend is finished. Right now on the satellite and radar imagery, all is clear. The sun is shining. There's a disturbance that impacted us a couple of days ago, and then here's the one that's just starting to develop for your Saturday morning. As we're waking up tomorrow morning, likely to encounter a few showers around the GTA, and there is a bit of a mixing line which could bring us some of those wet flurries mid-morning. Let's set this in motion, and we'll pause it here at about 8:30 a.m. So there's your Saturday. If you do have plans, make sure you bring the umbrella with you. Likely not to need it in the afternoon, however. Let me show you that in just a moment. But first, there's that mixed precipitation line, maybe a few wet flurries away from downtown Toronto, north of the 401. And then this is all going to clear out, and the cloud cover will too. We will enjoy some sunshine in your Saturday afternoon, but maybe you can even tell based on this forecast radar, we are going to have some strong northwesterly winds once again. So the wind direction is flipping back and forth here. Then heading into Sunday, a beautiful sunny day, but then here's what's coming next. Another disturbance, and this one looks like it could bring us a little bit more of a prolonged period of wet snow. This is mainly through the overnight hours, so not likely to impact your Sunday daytime, but it might end up having a bit of an impact on the Monday morning commute, especially with a couple of slushy centimeters expected before some showers move in, and that could help wash away any snow that does accumulate. Enough about snow for now. Let's talk about today. It is currently 5 degrees in the city of Toronto, so we've had a nice little bump in temperature. We are on our way to a forecast daytime high of 9. That is above seasonal. Average daytime high this time of year is 6 degrees. And again, all that sunshine certainly helping. It's not hurting things, that's for sure. Overnight tonight, again, those showers are expected to begin. Winds, as they often do, ease through the overnight hours. We can expect them to once again be strong tonight, coming out of the southwest. Little snapshot of tomorrow, a reminder that any precipitation is likely to fall in the morning, followed by some clearing in through the afternoon. I do want to mention, too, that the temperature tomorrow will be at its warmest in the morning, and then that temperature is going to fall as the day goes on. So tomorrow's high of 3 degrees, that's in the early morning. We should be at about 0 by the afternoon, -8 for the overnight low, and then 1 degree on Sunday. That's it. Again, snow overnight and into the day on Monday. Right through the middle part of next week, we are going to be at or slightly below seasonal with some unsettled conditions expected overall. That's your look at the weather for now. Michelle, sending things over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Now to a W5 investigation of a controversial spiritual group led by a Canadian woman and her husband.
It's called Twin Flames Universe, and it's run by Jeff and Shalia Devine.
Twin Flames Universe is a spiritual movement with a seductive guarantee. Follow their program and you'll find eternal love.
I love it. This is so devilish.
This is a segment from a special 2-hour edition of W5. Avery Haynes spoke with former followers who say the couple who started Twin Flames morphed from online relationship coaches into cult leaders, controlling their followers' every move, from what they eat to who they love, and even what gender they are.
And CTV's W5 and managing editor Avery Haynes is here to actually talk about it. We've been fascinated this week watching your reporting. How did you first come to kind of dive into this matter?
You know, it didn't take a lot of investigations in order to find Jeff and Shalia Devine. They reached out to me. They've been the subject of a Netflix docuseries, an Amazon Prime docuseries. Vice has done something on them, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair. I mean, it's just endless, all telling the story from the perspective of former members. And they sent me an email that said, we are not a cult, and they wanted to share their side of the story. And I said, listen, I'll meet you, I'll talk to you, I'll come into your inner circle. I went to their 7,000 square foot mansion in northern Michigan and went to their Christmas party, met their followers. But it will be a full investigation of the allegations against you. And there are so many allegations, we had to turn this into 2 hours.
But what did you, when they called you, were you shocked?
Well, I didn't. I must have been living under a rock. I hadn't been following any of this on the docuseries. I didn't know about Twin Flames Universe. And then I went into their world online. These two first met a decade ago, and they've been documenting their love story since 2014. And they were very sweet videos off the top of them loving each other. They turned it into a business. And now the allegation is that that business is much more than just a spiritual group.
Let's talk about what they're teaching, and does it cross a line?
They claim that everything you want, love, wealth, happiness, spiritual enlightenment, comes with their teaching. That if you buy their book, you buy their courses, you do their one-on-one coaching with other students, which costs thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, you will have your heart's desire. And everything that you don't have is because you have inner trauma that has not been healed. And so what the ex-members who we spoke to say is they use that as a form of coercive control. They break you down so you don't question, because if you have a question, it means there's something wrong inside of you. If you disagree with something you're being asked to do, it's because there's something wrong inside of you. And then it morphed into a religion. And with Jeff now claiming that he is the second coming, the Master Christ, Jesus 2.0, and if you deny his word, you're denying God's word. This is a slow process over time. One of the former members said, it's not like you walk in and say, hey, I want to join a cult. This is like the frog in the water. Slowly, slowly, the temperature goes up and all of a sudden you're boiling.
So they make these grand promises. What are the allegations against them?
The allegations are lengthy: coercive control, brainwashing, that they're separated from their families, that they encourage stalking to go after your twin flame. The most horrifying allegation is that they coerce or convince followers to changing gender. There have been 18 of their followers have transitioned mostly from female to male. And experts are very clear, somebody else does not discover your gender for you. They all say that they came to this realization that they were in the wrong body on their own. The ex-members, including a high-ranking former member who says she was part of what she calls their gender conversion program, and was tasked with the job of telling people, Jeff, through God, is telling you that you need to be a man.
Now, there has been a lot of negative reporting against them. It makes you wonder, at this stage, how many followers do they have?
This is going to shock you. They have 300,000 Facebook followers on their Facebook page. They have 2,000 paying students who are paying, thousands, tens of thousands at times. And those numbers are growing. And more people, while this began as an online spiritual group, it's morphing to in real life, in that 16 members have now moved to be closer to their gurus, Jeff and Shalia Divine. And so in the documentary that airs tomorrow night, we really dig deep into the financials, because the allegation of fraud, of tax evasion, stems from this creation of this religion. And the claims are, which we investigate, that they are using that religion to not pay taxes.
Look forward to watching this. CTV and W5's Avery Haynes, thank you.
Thank you.
And let's give you the specifics so you can catch her investigation. It airs right here on CTV at 7 p.m. on Saturday, and it'll also be simulcast live on W5's official YouTube channel. The world's largest blind hockey tournament returns to Toronto ice today, and this weekend is set to see the biggest turnout in the competition's 11-year history. CTV's Jessica Smith joins us live with more. Tell us more, Jess.
Well, we are down here at the Mattamy Arena. It is packed. There are thousands of kids here watching and people getting ready to take in the tournament. I'm joined by Amy Burke. You're one of the participants and a Paralympian, might I add. Talk to me about what it's like to see kind of this representation and have all these people here cheering you guys on and learning more about blind hockey.
Oh, it's incredible. To see how much the sport has grown over the last 11 years is remarkable. When I was a kid, hockey is Canada's game. That's just what we're known to do. And so being born with albinism and low vision, I never had that opportunity. So just to be able to play it now at an older age is really, really cool. And I have two young boys as well, and now they get to grow up playing a sport that is it's our country's game. So it's incredible. And to see this many kids here, even to just witness this, it's going to help continue to promote parasport and blind hockey in the future.
It has been phenomenal, feeling the energy in here and watching the game going on so far. What are your hopes for when it comes to sport in general, being more inclusive and giving people the opportunity to continue doing something they love?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Sport can impact your life so much, and it's for the better. And to just,
All right, seems like we lost.
In hockey today, and the speed of the game it's amazing. Like, you're watching it and you're like, knowing that these players have 10% vision or less is just remarkable to see, like those nice edge works, like everything on the ice. Like I'm mind blown. Like, my mind is blown sometimes watching it. And if they can even just go and if they have a friend who has low vision, or even just be like, I saw this. this is available to you, and that's just going to help continue to grow the sport. The energy in this building is amazing, and that is what helps grow parasport in our country, and it's just great to see everyone be involved and everyone have that equal opportunity to play sport.
Now you're playing later on today, gearing up for not one but 2 games. What are your thoughts going into it? Because I know I've been watching the people reacting, and they are loving everything they're seeing. But how are you feeling about your games later on?
I'm a little nervous. This is my first time actually getting to play, but I'm super excited. Hockey definitely has been something that I've wanted to play my whole life. I never really had the opportunity, and now that I do, my goal is to just continue to grow and enhance my skills. I'm hoping by Sunday, I'm going to be a lot more comfortable out there. But yeah, no, I'm excited, and I know, like, I've watching the kids game, they feed off this energy in the crowd, and it was just like watching all the kids come off with smiles on their faces. It's incredible. So I'm excited to have a lot of fun. I think this is the biggest blind hockey tournament in the world, with 190 blind athletes and representing every province in Canada, which is just incredible. And not only that, but 4 countries worldwide. So it's great to see the growth. I'm super excited. Yeah, it's overwhelming at times for sure.
Overwhelming but great. Amy, thank you so much. There's so much more hockey going on throughout the weekend. Make sure you come on down and check it out. I'll send things back inside to Michelle.
Thanks to you both. Appreciate it. Now to some health news. A Southwestern Health unit is reporting the highest measles case count in the province.
Amid the virus spread, a plea from health officials to make sure measles immunizations are up to date. CTV's Brian Bicknell reports.
Please do not risk your health or your child's health through a measles infection.
A direct plea from Southwestern Medical Officer of Health Dr. Nin Tran, asking the public to make sure their measles vaccinations are up to date. It comes as the health unit reports 228 cases of measles in the region, which includes Elgin and Oxford counties, the highest case count of any jurisdiction in Ontario. The number includes 28 new cases just in the past week.
What happens with measles is once it gets introduced in a particular area, it is highly, highly infectious, that if there are individuals or areas that aren't immunized and individuals who aren't immunized, it will go through it quickly.
According to Public Health Ontario, there have been 470 measles cases across the province since an outbreak began in October. Health officials in London, meanwhile, say they're not seeing the same surge of measles cases locally as we're seeing in neighbor jurisdictions, but they are concerned because most cases are in children. In fact, as many as 4 out of 5 cases are in patients under 19 years old. At its community update this week, London Health Sciences Centre cited vaccine hesitancy, limited vaccine opportunities during pandemic, decreased access to primary care, and religious or cultural reasons as factors.
But the bottom line is that we are not having the coverage that we need. And what we actually need is a 95% coverage in our community to prevent measles from circulating.
Very concerned with protecting our most vulnerable patients. Protocols are in place to contain and minimize outbreaks and measles in general early, which helps to prevent its spread to those who cannot be vaccinated due to medical conditions.
On Wednesday, Middlesex London Health Unit reported 2 new cases of measles in addition to the first case reported March 10th. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Other major respiratory viruses are still sending hundreds to hospital as they spread less quickly. Public Health Ontario shared its latest figures looking at the week of March 9th through the 15th. During that time, officials say a moderate level of lab tests for influenza came back positive. That's stable from the week before after flu positivity rates soared to post-COVID records over the winter. 467 patients were in hospital with that virus, while around 300 were admitted for COVID or RSV.
Christmas has come really, really early for Mariah Carey as she scores a win in a battle over her holiday mega hit song. A U.S. judge ruled Mariah Carey did not illegally copy elements of her 1994 track, All I Want for Christmas Is You. The writers of a 1989 song by the same name filed a copyright suit. But the court found the songs were not similar enough for a jury to support that conclusion. The plaintiffs were ordered to pay part of Carey's attorney fees.
With all episodes of season 2 of Severance now out, there's some welcome news for fans of the Apple TV Plus series.
Mr. Scout. I know you're still.
The sci-fi mystery series has officially been renewed for a 3rd season. Apple TV Plus says it's now the most watched show ever on the streaming service. It tells the story of a man who undergoes a procedure that separates his work and personal lives. A release date for Severance season 3 has not been announced.
An exotic bird has been spotted in High River, Alberta, and it's ruffling feathers.
People are wondering where it could possibly have come from. CTV's Mark Villani reports.
You're so neat. It's perhaps the most unlikely running partner one could ever imagine. A peafowl, commonly known as a peacock or peahen, spotted in High River. Hi, sweetie. The video was posted to Facebook by Kathy Osbach, who says her daughter filmed the rare encounter while she was out for a run. It begs the question, where did it come from?
Is that one of yours?
No, it's not. The Calgary Zoo says all of its animals are accounted for, including its collection of these colorful peafowls.
Of course, we welcome all our visitors call and inquire about these things because we want to make sure the welfare of all animals.
Butterfield Acres was asked the same question, but its 2 peacocks, Peter and Hamish, were safe and sound, though they have been known to escape in the past.
They wandered over to the neighbors' acreage and discovered their reflections in the windows. So now we keep them in a covered flight pen.
CTV News reached out to Alberta Fish and Wildlife. It says no reports of a missing peacock were received, but to keep an eye out and call them if you see this one. Some conservationists are concerned for the bird's safety.
Right now, if it's not careful, an eagle's going to take it. There are lots of eagles around right now. They're in migratory, and it'd be easy prey.
But it wouldn't be the first time this kind of an exotic bird went missing. In 2022, Parks Canada euthanized a domestic peafowl found in Jasper National Park over concerns it could be carrying an avian disease. But for the most part, these animals are now domesticated. You can even buy them online through various sellers.
I have some whites, I have some pied, I have some silver pied.
Sam Lenders breeds more than 50 peafowl from her farm in northern Alberta. Peacocks are a trendy pet, and last year was her biggest year yet.
I probably sold maybe 130. Each one has its own personality. You can get to know them.
This one, clearly curious, hopefully won't run afoul. Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
Still to come, an Ontario woman's trip to Cuba took a nasty turn when she says a fellow Canadian traveler punched her in the face. Details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Tariff turmoil between the United States and many of its closest trading partners has prompted a stock market plunge, and today could mark another notable milestone on that front. The S&P 500 fell nearly 1% in earlier trading in the day, and it has recovered a bit, but still slightly down from its open. There were similar slides in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Nasdaq Composite. If those hold, Wall Street would end the day on its 5th straight weekly loss. Canada's stock market has trended downwards as well, but analysts have noted U.S. losses have been steeper.
For one Ontario couple, a March break vacation in the Caribbean was anything but.
Vacations don't always go as planned, and a woman is devastated after being assaulted while on holiday in Cuba. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
This was supposed to be just a nice time away.
Crystal Jardine of the Orangeville area is still recovering from a black eye she received while on vacation in Cuba. She and her husband went for 5 days to a Veradero resort. On the second day, they were at a beach bar when a stranger approached her.
He just asked me for a cigarette. I gave him a smoke.
Jardine says that's when a woman became angry and accused her of flirting with him.
Out of nowhere, this man came up. He punched me in the face. Then he took my husband down. He pushed him backwards and he got on top of him.
Jardine says the man who she described as huge was punching her husband. He was eventually restrained by security guards, but instead of detaining him, they told him to leave.
And I keep freaking at them. Call the cops. Like, what are you waiting for?
Jardine eventually contacted Cuban police and was told if she laid charges, she would have to remain in Cuba. She was given no information about the man who punched her, except that he was a Canadian citizen.
But I don't even have the man's name. The resort won't give me the man's name. They wouldn't give me an official report of the assault. The only information that was provided to me is that he's Canadian.
The tour operator was Sunwing. A spokesperson told CTV News, "We sincerely regret to hear about the incident which occurred on hotel property. As this is an active investigation, we are unable to comment further at this time."
If a criminal action occurs in another country, it has to be handled in that country.
Criminal defense lawyer Joseph Newberger says while charges cannot be laid in Canada, Jardine may have options if she can locate the alleged assailants.
Once returning to Canada, her only remedy, if she knew of this individual's details, name, address, etc., she could commence a civil action for battery.
Jardine says she wants the man who violently punched her to face consequences for his actions.
It's just sickening that somebody can do this. I want this man to be held accountable for what he did to me.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
To sports, after a win at home Wednesday night, the Leafs were in New York last night to face the Rangers.
And here's Jake McCabe on the move. Tavares scores! In behind.
John Tavares opened the scoring in the first with his 28th goal of the season. He would score again and also had an assist to reach 1,100 career points. He also now has 485 career goals, one more than former Leafs captain Darryl Sittler. The Leafs went ahead 4-2 in the second and won the game 4-3.
Tired. He just needed a little bit of time. Oh! Jamal Shed rising up.
The Raptors took on the Warriors last night to wrap up their 4-game road trip. Jamal Shed was one of 5 Raptors to score in double figures. Scotty Barnes led the way with 29 points and 10 rebounds. The Raptors kept it close for most of the game, but Golden State pulled out the 117-114 win. Toronto has lost 3 straight games. They return home to take on San Antonio on Sunday.
Elbows Up has gone from a hockey chant to a Canadian rallying cry, and a big event to celebrate pride in our country will be held in the city tomorrow. Elbows Up Canada will take over Nathan Phillips Square tomorrow after a successful event in Ottawa. Canadians will come together to celebrate unity in the face of annexation threats from U.S. President Donald Trump.
It's a gathering for Canadian unity. Canada is having a moment right now, Nick. We are going through something, and a lot of us are feeling this thing. We are emotional, we're frustrated, we're concerned, and when you are going through something, it's natural to gather. We gather for weddings, for funerals, for birthday parties. So we are gathering for Canada on Saturday at Nathan Phillips Square.
Jim Cuddy and Arlene Dickinson are some of the big names set to appear at the gathering in Toronto. It begins tomorrow afternoon at 2. And coming up, the iconic dance company Riverdance is in town, holding performances here in Toronto. CTV caught up with the lead dancer. That story after the break. Performers in the iconic dance company Riverdance are touring the world, and this week finds them in Toronto.
CTV's Andrea Kay spoke to lead dancer William Bryant, who has some advice whether you are on stage or off.
William Bryant, seen here on the right, is a lead dancer with Riverdance. Life on the road can be grueling. After this performance on Good Morning America, he hopped on a bus for a 10-hour ride to Toronto.
It's very demanding on the body, especially when you're doing 8 shows a week for 5 months on the road. It's very tough on the body, but you get used to it. It's very tough on the body, but I love doing the show. It's a dream come true.
He's been living that dream for a dozen years.
I auditioned straight out of high school and was successful, and 12 years later, I'm still here.
It's a job which has taken him around the world, but it all started outside Sydney in his homeland of Australia. Following in his sister's footsteps, who was also a dancer, it's a family affair. His brother is also with Riverdance.
Well, growing up watching Riverdance on the VHS tapes, it's something that you just dream of doing. So, it sounds cliche, but, do what you love, never work a day in your life, and that's kind of what I do. So.
Regardless of where he and many of the other dancers come from, this show is authentic.
We have a residency in Dublin every year, so we're there for roughly 16 weeks every year, and we sell out every time, and they absolutely love it.
Physically fit, Bryant doesn't take anything for granted.
31, so I'm punching at the moment. But I think, as long as your body can hold out, I think as long as you look after yourself, you can do it. I mean, the oldest stands that I've known to do the show, so I think they're almost 40. So I think I've still got a few more years in me.
And he has this advice for his fellow dancers.
I think just look after yourself. I think it's easy to kind of get into that bubble of being on the road and just kind of like partying, and it's all fun and save your money. I think that's some people struggle with that. So that's some advice that I would give them.
Good advice whether you're a dancer or not. Riverdance is on stage now at the CAA at Mirvish Theatre until Sunday. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Something about Riverdance makes me think spring's really here.
Right? Yes, we're
that
dancing.
Feeling.
We got a spring in our step.
And things are looking a little more green out there, or maybe they will be by the end of this weekend, because we do have some precipitation in the forecast. First in the form of showers, and then before the weekend is over, maybe some snow. But let's talk about today. Great opportunity to get outside. Temperatures are rising, and we've got loads of sunshine out there too. Tonight we're going to drop to a low near 6 degrees, perhaps 5 by the time most are waking up tomorrow morning. And showers, they could begin through the overnight hours. They'll be with us for tomorrow morning. Then your Saturday afternoon looks not bad. It'll be drier. We'll hopefully enjoy some sun. Plenty of sun in store for the day on Sunday. But look at that temperature. Daytime high of only 1 degree. That's after an overnight low of -8 Saturday into Sunday. And then it's Sunday night, overnight into Monday, that we could see some widespread snow, maybe a couple of centimeters of wet snow before it all gets washed away on Monday with a few showers. We are trending at or below seasonal through a good portion of next week, Nathan and Michelle, and it looks to be a little unsettled as well. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.